I've hit the go live button. Hopefully we will be live now, and if anyone can hear us, they can go ahead and post in the chat box. Can you see it, Tamara, on your, and I'm pulling up YouTube now.
Yeah, I'm trying to find it. Oops.
It's crazy how
for newbies.
That's right, but that's okay.
Yes.
We all learn together.
Precisely.
And I am so thankful for Casey's videos because they have been such a help in navigating how to do a Zoom and
yes,
live at the same time. So
I totally agree.
Have you been able to pull it up yet?
I pulled it up. I don't see comments or a place for comments, but
okay. Yeah, let's see. I see the live chat. Let me see if I can chat in here. Let's see if I say something. Oh, you know what? I'd have to probably do it somewhere else.
Hello, everybody. I love it.
Okay.
All right.
So I think we're good. And so everyone, welcome. Thank you for bearing with us during this time. I am a newbie at this. So this is my second live. First, nice. Casey, and you know, she helped walk me through it, and you've been interviewed by Casey, Tamara. So I'll go ahead and without further ado, I will let Tamara introduce herself, as we're so excited to have, or I am to have her today. And as I have mentioned, she's a teacher on many different ESL platforms. And then also with SplashLearn, which is not exactly an ESL platform. And Tamara will tell us a little bit more about that later in the interview. But so Tamara, tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, your background, and anything else you want to share with us.
Well, my name is Tamara, and I'm so happy to be here. Thank you. I teach for VIPKid, ZebraEnglish, and actually OutSchool a little bit, and SplashLearn, like she said. I'm from California, and I'm married to a pilot, an airline pilot, and I'm not sure.
Yeah, and I'm married to pilot and airline.
That's me. Sorry. The airlines have a very up and down. There a lot of ups and downs in the airlines. So during one of our downs, I went back to school and got my master's degree in education. But I really wanted to stay home with my kids. My own, I have 2 children. So I wasn't ready to have an actual job in the classroom. So I started substitute teaching a bit, and then I found VIPKid. And after VIPKid, I've been there 3 years. And after VIPKid, I've found actually this year, mostly since December, I found several other companies, including SplashLearn, that we're going to discuss today. And it's been such an amazing opportunity. So,
well, that's awesome. When you were talking about VIPKid and 3 years, I mean, like 3 years with VIPKid, to me, you're like one of the veterans, you know, with VIPKid.
Right.
Or, well, I have a friend who's been in the military. And Tamara, is your husband, he's not military, is he?
No, he never was. No.
Okay. So, but a ZebraEnglish friend, a good friend that is retired or had been in the military previously, said, do not use the term veteran. That's only reserved for military. So I'm like, okay. Those of
a lot of people call ourselves veterans at VIPKid.
Yes.
It's kind of funny.
So
after only 3 years too, it doesn't sound like that long.
But in the ESL world, I mean, so many of the companies are new. And how old is VIPKid, do you think now?
VIPKid, I went to their 5th anniversary in, let's see, it would have been 2018, I guess, was their 5th anniversary. So eight
It's
years
about,
now.
yeah,
It's
7
coming
or
up
8
on 8.
years.
So October is their anniversary. So yeah, almost 8 years. But that's why I started finding new companies, is because when I started at VIPKid, it really felt like a little family. I could send in a ticket and it was a live response back. You know, everybody that was part of VIPKid truly cared about the company. And it was looking so promising, you know, and then it grew massively. And when I started, there were about 10,000 teachers, and now there's approximately 100,000 teachers.
Yes.
So it's really grown exponentially, and it no longer has that personal feeling, you know. So
Right.
like when you told me about ZebraEnglish, I jumped in right away because it was exactly like I felt like VIPKid used to be, but with the younger kids, which I absolutely love. And so yeah.
That's awesome. I was going to ask you how many teachers there were when you became a part of VIPKid.
Yeah,
So
there were roughly 10,000. So.
I think when I joined VIPKid, now this was March of 2019, and this shows you how much they've grown. But it was in the 54,000.
Okay.
At the time that I joined. But within a year, they like doubled that. I mean, not even a year, I don't think. You know, it was just amazing.
It
so
is.
I'm going to ask you, can you see in the chat, is the chat showing up? Can you see that?
I still can't see the chat. I'm sorry.
You can't see the chat.
I can see the description, but I cannot see the chat.
Okay. And you are on, just like you were looking at it as you're doing the video?
Yeah. So I don't know where.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I hope that ones can see it in chat if they want to.
I hope so too.
That'll make me sad if they can't. But if not, then maybe we can, maybe they can just post comments under. It says that we have 7 watching right now.
Yay!
That they can see the chat. I mean, I didn't do anything different, so.
Right now. Oh, now I can see it. Alana can see
see
it too. Hi, Alana.
Oh, yes. Okay. I went off of it. So thanks, Elena, for letting us know.
Elena, sorry.
Okay. So, Tamara, I wanted you to tell us about your journey to China. I thought that was so interesting when you told me that you had been to China. And tell them also how you gained 1 student off of that trip to China.
Fun. So I was part of this Fast Pass. I was a Fast Pass coach for VIPKid, and which was where we would meet once a month at a facility and help people that wanted to be hired at VIPKid along the process. And in the past, the order was, you signed up, filled out your background info, you had an interview with somebody in China, actually, and then you had your mock class. Well, this bypassed the interview in China, and you went straight to your mock class. And it was a coaching experience to help you with the mock class, basically. So they had several locations around the country, and I lived in Florida at the time, so Miami was one of those locations. And I was a coach there, and they offered Fast Pass coaches a trip to China. So I jumped on board with that. And we went in October of last year to Beijing and Shanghai. And they provided, I actually went early, a few days early, and was able to stay. I stayed with 2 different students of mine in their apartments there. And then we spent 8 days, I believe. No, 10 days in Beijing and Shanghai, touring all the places around there. We had Brian from the home office, the head office there. He's really into Chinese history, and so he gave us a personal tour of the Forbidden City there, and I mean, it was incredible. It was really, really amazing.
I can only imagine. I think that's probably the dream of every ESL teacher is
I know.
a trip to China and then to stay with your students too. I mean, all the time, whenever I'm teaching those units about traveling abroad or, you know, America, I'm like, okay, anytime you come to America, or if you can come to America, come stay with me.
Right.
And I'm always putting it in feedback to the parents, you know.
Yeah. And I told them I'll meet you anywhere, you know, in America.
Yes.
I'm going to go, I'll meet you there. But yeah.
Right.
But these two families actually insisted that I come and stay with them. And so it was pretty neat. So I was able to see 5 of my students, 3
awesome.
in Beijing and 2 in Shanghai. And then VIPKid hosted a dinner for students and teachers. And because I made plans to see all my students, none of them actually came to the dinner. So there were a few students without teachers at the dinner, and then there were a few teachers without students. So I sat with 2 students, but one in particular really gravitated toward me, and we hit it off, and I've been teaching her ever since then. So
that is so cool. Like, you never knew that you would go to China and pick up a student as now. So like in Zebra English, we call them regulars when we see them week after week. So this student, is she still meeting with you every week?
Yeah, she's a regular. She meets with me every week, and she actually, her cousin also, I meet her now too. So
you gain 2 students
more often than I see her. Actually, I see her cousin 2 or 3 times a week.
So, that's awesome. So another benefit of going to China, possibly.
New students, yeah.
Pick up a student or 2, you know.
Right. That wasn't my intention at all, but it just worked out that way.
So tell me, what was it like staying with the families that you stayed with?
It was neat. Like, the one thing that I really thought they all spoke English, because when I'm on WeChat with them, which is like the texting app that they use in China, they always communicate in English. But little did I know, they translate everything before they post on WeChat. So it was a little bit interesting, because everything had to be done through a chat app, because they weren't comfortable with their English. And of course, I don't speak Chinese. But you know what? They made me feel welcome. They made me feel right at home. And it was neat. And I loved seeing the students. This one, actually, she's a little stinker. She loves to joke around, and she runs all over the place, you know. But then when I met her, she was so shy. She didn't want to say anything. She just kept staring at me like she didn't know what to do. You know, it was pretty funny. But
so did you have to travel to go to your students' homes, or were they right there where you were in China?
Interestingly enough, these 2 students were our neighbors. They don't live very far from each other in Beijing, which is a huge town. So that was incredible that happened. So I introduced them to each other. So the first student actually picked me up from the airport and brought me to their house, like via taxi. So we went there straight from the airport, and then we had a dinner with both families had a dinner for me. And then I went to the other family's home. So that was pretty neat. And then the other family took me to the hotel in Beijing. So, and then in Shanghai, well, actually in Beijing at the hotel, a family came to the hotel and we walked to a place for dinner. And then in Shanghai, they both met me at the hotel too. So in Shanghai, they actually traveled quite a ways to get to where I was staying, but I think one was almost 2 hours and one was an hour. But well worth it. Well worth it.
Yes, definitely. So I've always wondered, if I had an opportunity to go to China, how would I be with the food? Would I be able to eat everything that was put before me? Because, you know, the food's being different. So how was it for you?
The food was delicious. It was, I love Asian food anyway. And so I really enjoyed the food. It was not quite what I expected. They eat a lot of mushrooms. So you have to like mushrooms. And
I like mushrooms.
Good. And there's a lot of different things. But the only thing that was well, and then with the tour tried to take us to restaurants and order food that they thought Americans would like. The only thing that was a little bit crazy was this one time we had a whole chicken dish. It was a lot of cut up chicken and there was a head in there. Right in there you saw the, like everything with the head. And that was a little bit crazy. But besides that, I thought it was just normal looking, tasting Chinese food, I guess. It was all
good.
delicious. I mean, I loved it, but
yes.
Oh, and then the family did serve me frogs, bullfrogs, barbecued.
How was it? Were you able to eat it? Did it taste like chicken?
It did taste like chicken. I loved it, actually. It tasted like barbecued, really well barbecued chicken. But
right. That's awesome. Okay, good. Well, we were thinking about maybe some of us mentors from Zebra English could go on a trip over there, but this was before all of the COVID and hiring freeze sort of cut our money too. So
yes.
we're not sure how that will work out now, especially with the virus. So
well, make sure that they help you find everything too, because
yes,
there are some hotels I hear that don't really don't have anybody but Chinese people there. So somebody will have to help you find places and everything first.
Yes. Well, Zebra has said that if any of us can come over, they will be glad to show us around, or if we could get there,
Yes.
So
oh man,
we'll see.
Now I really want to be a mentor.
I know.
I would love to go back.
Yes. So Tamara, tell me how you found out about Zebra English, and maybe what's your favorite part of Zebra English?
So I found Zebra English through you. Nancy Taylor, as most of you know, has a course called Beyond Teaching ESL. And it's mostly to help people develop a brand and start recruiting, and show you the different avenues. Prior to taking this course, I had 90 people in my VIPKid referral, but only 3 had made it through. And so I thought, what in the world is wrong with me? Like, what am I doing wrong? So I took this course and I found out everything that I was doing wrong. But through the course, I found Zebra English. You started posting videos and sharing Zebra English, and just the way it sounded, the excitement over it, just the enthusiasm had me sold right away. So I decided, and it was around the time, well, it was a little bit after the time, but around the time that VIPKid was starting to change our pay rate and there were certain things going on at VIPKid. And I thought, as much as I love VIPKid, it's not good to have all your eggs in one basket. It's really good to have multiple companies, just to have something to fall back on. And like somebody said, 3 classes are 1 cancellation. So if you could teach for 2 different platforms, 3 classes at 6 classes a day, 3 and 3, then you only have 1 at each company. But I don't do that. But I thought that was a good point, a good tip, so that you limit.
Yes, I've never looked at it that way, but that is a good point.
It is. I thought that was a good point. But at any rate, if anything happened at VIPKid, or if anything happens at Zebra English, I have the other company to fall back on too. So and I applied, I interviewed, and I really enjoy it. It's so fun. I sometimes I'm like, oh, another class, and then I go and I just get, it gives me so much energy to be with those little kids at Zebra. So I love it.
Yes. Some mornings I wake up and I'm like, oh, do I really have to get up? And then, you get up, and then same thing. Once they come on camera, it's like you're energized afterwards, and you're just so thankful that, it's an exciting feeling after you've done a class.
It really is, and more exciting than any other company, and I actually have to teach standing up because I realize I need a lot of energy for Zebra English. But
you move around, yes. And that's what I like about Zebra, is that because you have those classes that, the classes if you've taught the curriculum, and the setup. And so it's easier to extend and have free conversation with them and free, chat if, and talk about other items that are interesting. Like my student, and he's my whiz of a student, and his parents want me to do a lot of extra conversation because he could get through this lesson in 10 minutes. Yeah. And he didn't know what sweat was. He kept wanting to say sweet, and so I was able to get out my phone and, Google images of sweat, and show that to him and go over it. So there's other things that you can teach them while you're doing the lesson. And it's a lot of fun to me.
Yeah, it is. And it's nice that they're prepared, they've already heard all these words before.
Yes,
so
it's a little bit harder. I've have just now started teaching stage 2 because I had all my regulars by the time stage 2 came about.
Okay.
And now I have like 3 stage 2 students, and that's a little bit more challenging because but they can't read like the other stage 3 and stage 4 can.
Right. Oh.
Still, they've been a joy to work with. And I've had one that I thought, oh, I don't know if this is going to work out, because she would end up like crying each class.
Oh.
And after like three, I guess probably about 3 meetings, now it's like she knows who I am and she's going to come and be excited about the lesson, and she brings her big and she wants to show me it,
Oh, that's so fun.
So I don't think my husband realizes I'm doing a live right now on YouTube. So hi, honey.
Hi, honey. It's funny.
He's used to me just chatting with people on Zoom,
I love it.
So Tamara, tell us about how you were introduced to SplashLearn.
So, and that's one thing I want to encourage everybody to do is just, you might think, as I thought when I first started VIPKid, like this is just a fun little side gig, and I'm just going to, that's about it. But really, these open up avenues. Every time you work for a company, it opens up avenues to people, to networks, to other companies, and to different things. And you kind of learn to find your groove, So SplashLearn actually found me on LinkedIn, and it was right around the time that I found ZebraEnglish, actually. But SplashLearn, I didn't really know when they found me that they hadn't done the live classes yet. I thought it was already a well-established company. I just never heard of it, and so I messaged the guy right away and started talking to him, and because I love math. SplashLearn teaches math or tutors math. So when they approached me, it was really an after-school tutoring program. They have an app that's similar to ZebraEnglish, actually, but the app has been around since 2010 and is actually quite prevalent in a lot of US schools. It was Splash Math, and it has changed since to SplashLearn to incorporate some other subjects. But at this time, we only tutor in math. But it was supposed to be an extension of some of the Splash Math lessons that the kids learn in school and that they're doing, and just to help reinforce a lot of the Common Core concepts that they may not understand. Because a lot of times, Common Core has great intentions. It tries to teach you to solve problems using various strategies, and then you find the strategy that works for you. But by using so many strategies, they learn these strategies so quickly that a lot of times they're like lost more than they're found, I guess. I don't know. So Splash Math became an app to really help reinforce, have the users do more problems and solve more problems on the app. So they started this tutoring, and the first class was actually March 9th of this year. And then, COVID happened in the next week or two. So they started slowly opening up daytime classes, and it's just been booming ever since. It is growing so strong. They need tutors. They desperately need tutors because they've had to turn away several students because they don't have enough teachers to do the tutoring. So
what are the requirements to be a SplashLearn tutor?
So SplashLearn, we tutor K through 5 Common Core math. So you need to have at least 1 year of teaching, tutoring, substitute teaching. And homeschool does count toward tutoring.
Right.
So you just need to have some experience of explaining to an elementary school child Common Core math, and then 200 online classes. It's, hours or classes, but you need to have experience teaching online. That can be any online experience. And then you need to have that year of math experience. And they can tell when you go into your mock. They don't really check your, it's honor policy, but they can tell when you go in there and do your mock.
And you don't have to have a degree, is that correct?
You don't have to have a degree. Nope, you don't have to have a degree. You don't have to have any residency. You can live anywhere in the world, but they will ask you a little bit more about your U.S. math experience.
Yes.
But,
so you need to be versed in the U.S. Math Common Core, but you don't have to have a degree. And I think that's pretty amazing and opens up opportunities, especially like you said, for substitute teachers or homeschool parents that have been teaching this and they might not have a degree. But
and substitute teaching, I mean, you've taught math and actually you're probably almost more prepared because you've taught it through K, if you're an elementary school sub, you've taught K through 5 more than maybe a teacher that's taught 4th grade for 20 years,
Yes.
So definitely subs.
Now, the hours for teaching with SplashLearn, are those mainly weekday hours?
They're all weekday, Monday through Friday. They did add a Saturday class a while ago, but it was short-lived because students and teachers weren't really signing up for the Saturday classes. But so it's Monday through Friday, 7:30 a.m. to 7:30 p.m. Pacific time, which is 10:30 a.m. to 10:30 p.m. Eastern time. And the peak time is 7:30 a.m. to 12:30 Pacific time. So the morning hours are their peak time, or the afternoon hours if you're on the East Coast. That's their peak time. And if you are able to teach peak times, then you'll have a class within a week. So that's pretty exciting.
So tell me, all right, Amanda's asking about if you do have a degree, does that make you a better candidate to be hired? Does that give you a little bit of an edge if you do have a degree?
We're actually in discussions right now, and I'm sort of helping them develop a system. But at the moment, it's mostly on your mock class, and most people are making $20 to $21 an hour, it's 45 minutes to an hour. You need to teach at least 45 minutes up to an hour, at the moment, no, the degree does not make you more likely to be hired. It's more your math skills, your teaching skills. So
okay, and so tell me what a mock is like with SplashLearn, because it's a little bit different than ESL mock.
Yes. So Lisette also asked the question, is it one-on-one? And it's you'll have some one-on-one classes, and you'll have up to about 5 students. In your contract, it says you can have up to 10 students, but they don't like to do that at all. That's more if there's an emergency or something. But it's 1-on-1 to 1-on-5. They provide all the curriculum. The mock class, you're going to have 2 or 3 students likely in your mock class, pretending to be students. And they're actually people from the company. You might have a couple US teachers also in there, but you'll definitely have people directly from the company, which I think is pretty neat because they know more what they want almost than sometimes teachers do. And there's more of a consistency, like they know what they're looking for. There's one in particular that's in almost all of the mock classes, probably 99% of them. So they really know what they're looking for. So they don't have to, it's not like a lot of the ESL companies where you do your mock and then you submit it for somebody to watch it. They're right there and they know, they know if you're going to be hired or not. So you really need to just impress your mock mentors. And so, yes.
Tamara. Oh, I'm sorry.
There's no homework. and they aren't sure about the peak times. Like I said, it started as an after school tutoring program and now has gone daytime hours. It kind of depends what happens. We're all sort of just trying to be flexible and go with the flow. So it's hard to see. It's hard to say, especially because they've only been around since March. So it's not like they were around before COVID, really.
Exactly. And even though they are US based primarily, it's an Indian group. Is that correct? That has started this company?
Yes, yes. And I was trying to figure out why they use Pacific time, because I imagine most of the teachers are on the East Coast or Central time. But it's because it's 12 hours difference from India. I think it's 12-hour time change. So it's easy to figure it out. That's my new guess.
So do they live in India? Because I thought they were an Indian group in the United States.
So they have a San Francisco office that is very small. There's only a couple people I think that work there, but the majority of the people that you'll talk with are in India.
India.
Yeah, that's where their large office is.
We have some Indian friends that are good friends of ours. In fact, they flew us out to California for a conference a couple of years ago, my husband and I. And it's the same way. He's involved in computer engineering, and he will develop an app or some type of software, but he will get his Indian friends back in India to help work or, make it all happen. So really the same type.
It could be. Yeah, I'm not exactly sure. I feel like this is mostly everything done in India.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, but I know that somebody, so the way the hiring happens is you set up a pre-discussion. The pre-discussion is somebody through the company, somebody that is an employee of SplashLearn that will talk to you. They're going to ask you your experience, and then they're going to tell you about SplashLearn. So it's sort of an interview, but not really. It's more just a discussion just to get you excited. And but there are a couple of people that you might have your pre-discussion with in San Francisco. And then you'll have your mock class. And if you don't pass your mock class, you can reapply, but you'll have to have another pre-discussion, but yes.
I know I love math. And I used to teach 7th through 12th grade, pre-algebra, algebra 1. And so SplashLearn just sounded ideal. And I did have the pre-discussion, but then there was the minimum requirements and then the hours. With me homeschooling, I really couldn't teach during those hours, not yet anyway, with the children that I have. And so, but I really love the idea, just with it being math. Yeah. So tell me, Tamara, about what are the minimum requirements? Because I think you do have to commit to a certain amount each week. Is that right? Or per month or something?
You have to be available 10 hours a week. That doesn't mean you necessarily will work 10 hours a week, but they can assign you a batch. A batch is between 4 and 40 classes. So you're going to meet the same students at the same time. It might be Monday, Wednesday, Friday. It might be Tuesday, Thursday, or it might be Monday through Friday. So you do need to be available 10 hours a week for them to be able to assign you a batch.
Do you think, Tamara, in any of your discussions with them that they might lessen that? Like, for me, it would be more doable maybe if it was 5 hours a week instead of 10, because maybe I could fit it in, like during lunch hour or right after lunch or something, you know, or at the end of my school day. But
as of now, they don't want to change because, like I said, they've had to turn away a lot of students because there's not enough teachers. So as of now, they definitely want you available. But
you might want to tell them that they might get more teachers if they lessen that. So it might be to their advantage.
It might. And I know they don't really want, because there's some teachers, like I know, at VIPKid and even OutSchool, they don't actually teach, they just recruit.
Right.
And so that's always you don't want to overhire for sure.
No.
So they are definitely cautious of that. And yes, and the waiting period to reapply is the next day. You don't have to wait, actually. There's no waiting period to reapply. Yes, and there are a lot of teachers that actually work for SplashLearn, and SplashLearn understands. And if you can't work those 10 hours a week, please schedule your pre-discussion anyway and let them know and see if there's any compromise that you guys can come up with, or any other information that they might be able to give you. Because I did tell that the guy in the hiring department, I told him that was the number one thing preventing a lot of really good teachers from applying is A, they don't know their fall schedule really, and B, the 10 hours scares people. So they said, please book your pre-discussion anyway, talk to them, let them know your fears or your concerns, and they'll try to work out something with you. So they're very, yes, very kind.
And I want to do that again. I want to reschedule my pre-discussion and let them know, because I mean, again, I love math and I would love to be able to do that. And then I might be able to have my children in there too, while I'm teaching, So another question I have, because this would be another big concern of mine with homeschooling my own children. I don't have a lot of outside time to devote to coming up with a lesson. So how much prep time is it for you?
Prep time is very simple because they don't require any type of props or rewards or anything like that. Everything is done. Awesome. They get by Google Slides. All the curriculum is on Google Slides, and then you teach through Zoom. So they're gonna send you their Zoom platform, or they'll link theirs with yours or yours with theirs. And the Google Slides that they give you, every third slide or so will have some teacher notes. And so it's basically so that you know what the correct terminology, kind of what their thoughts are behind the slides. So really it's just reviewing those and then teaching. There's very little prep.
So that's awesome.
It is. It's really good.
Because that was my other concern. And then, but you do have to be very familiar with the Zoom tools, right?
Yes, you need to be familiar with Zoom. I mean, it's not 100% make or break, but you're going to have to seriously knock them out of the park with your lesson, with your mock lesson, if you don't know Zoom. But Zoom is, it's not super hard. And I could help you too, especially, if
awesome, because Tamara, like my Zoom knowledge is very basic. I know how to do Zoom calls and chats, and now I know how to do this Zoom live interview on YouTube, but that's not, and I even tutor a student independently, and a 7-year-old that's been adopted from Taiwan now in the United States. And I use Zoom with him, but he can see my little cursor and when I share my screen, and so he knows what I'm pointing to. Or I know how to use the little highlight, the spotlight. But that's like all. That's my knowledge of Zoom. So what would you recommend for me to keep up my classroom Zoom skills? Because I've never done whiteboard or anything like that.
So with Zoom at SplashLearn, you need to know how to share the screen. And then you need to know how to annotate on the screen.
So when you say annotate, what are you using to annotate? Because I know there's different tools.
Zoom has their tools, so you can use the pen to write. If you're doing, say, a fraction lesson, you can use the rectangle and break it into fractions, into equal parts. If you're, and they have this stamp. It's called a stamp. So those are nice with multiplication because you can use the stamp to do equal groups to emphasize how to do that. But when you go into Zoom and when you're sharing your screen and then you annotate, all the tools are in one bar. And the other thing you need to learn is how to clear the screen before you move to the next screen.
So are you going to make a video about this? Or is there some type of video?
I have a Facebook group, a hiring Facebook group, and I did make a Zoom video, and you're in it, yes. So I did make a Zoom video on how to go from start to finish in your mock class. So yes.
Oh, awesome.
It's in there. It's in the Facebook group.
That's what I think Amanda is asking right now well, no, she's talking about pre-discussion. Will they tell you if you don't meet the requirements?
They'll tell you right away. Actually, they tell you the pre-discussion is required, and then they'll tell you right away if they want you to book your mock class. They care more about the level than the ages. So share your experience teaching the K-2 level, the elementary math level. That's what they're most concerned about. You could be a 50-year math teacher teaching high school math, but they really only care about your elementary experience because that's what you're teaching.
Yes, in my pre-discussion, which I was earlier on,
right,
before you started your Facebook group and all of that, and Lizette asked about the Facebook group. It is linked in the discussion underneath this YouTube video. So if any of you want to join Tamara's Facebook group, she does have that. Yes. We have that linked. So, but when I did my pre-discussion, I sort of puzzled them because I had this, like my educational background is elementary ed. And I did my student teaching in that. And I went to apply for an elementary ed position, but they wanted needed an algebra teacher more than they needed to fill those couple elementary spots because they knew they could fill those with other teachers. And originally I wanted to be an algebra teacher. So I was like, yes, I would love to teach. It's a private school. They could do this in an academy. So, and then I said, but I've homeschooled my children. I mean, I have 4 that are in college now. So I have taught kindergarten through 12th grade math, and my oldest son, I mean, he had a full ride and was a National Merit Scholar. So I think I have a little bit of knowledge, but they still had to get back with me because I just sort of threw them for a loop that I was a homeschool mom and that I had taught upper math, even though my background was in elementary ed.
Oh my goodness. Yes.
But they came back right after that, I think, Carmesh just had to check with whoever he needed to. And then I received an email right after that saying, yes, I could move forward with my mock.
Good. Yes. Yeah, I know it does throw them for a loop a bit. And then homeschooling also, if you do homeschool, I would kind of include that as a tutor or something because it's a little bit different, I guess. But yeah, definitely elementary is what they're concerned with. And it's only 1 year. So, it's not a lot. It's not a lot of experience, but they want to make sure that you can solve problems basically and elementary problems. And I have to say, I got my associate's degree actually in math. So not a high level degree, but my son, when he started kindergarten, I had so much trouble doing his math. I was like, what's a 10 frame? I don't know. And the teacher was like, okay, first of all, calm down. I'm like, I thought I was smart. My husband too. Like we thought we were smart people, but we can't do kindergarten math. It was funny. So
I know.
Yeah.
It's a whole new way of thinking.
It's a whole new way.
We have some more questions. So let's look at this. Okay, you are primarily teaching English speakers. Is that correct, Tamara?
Yes, all the students, they're all English speakers for sure. There are a few students that are out of the United States, but the vast majority are in the United States. And the company is fluent in English also. So even though they're in India, their English is excellent.
Yes. And now, Lizette, you said you don't see the link, so I will double check that. I thought I copied.
She said she had to close the chat to see the link, so she has.
Oh, okay. Got it. I'm not down far enough.
Yeah, Lizette.
It's harder for me to see my phone. I'm trying to read this chat.
Yes. So, any more questions? Yeah, bring them on. I love talking about SplashLearn. It's been so wonderful. And I teach, like I said, I teach for a lot of companies, and SplashLearn is definitely, for me, it's the most caring and the most, like, they let you be yourself. They let you teach how you want to teach it. They do provide you all the slides that you do have to follow. You can't add or subtract slides. But they're so caring, if you have an emergency, I'm sorry, I keep interrupting, but if you have an emergency, they totally understand, and you just send them a message and say, I'm really sorry I have this emergency, and they'll either reschedule a student or provide a sub or something, but they're so kind. So
That's great to know, especially when you have to commit to those times.
10 hours, right? Right.
So how do, I guess, teachers that sign up with SplashLearn can also, are they just automatically subs, or do you have to fill out something extra that you would like to be a sub? How does that work?
No, you're kind of automatically a sub. I think, I mean, they've asked me, do you mind doing these last 2 lessons? They've asked me that a few times. And it's, no problem at all. It's only 2 classes. So yeah, they just ask, do you mind? And you just say yes or no.
Within the material and the slides that you're given to teach this lesson, you have freedom to explain or teach it the way that you feel best to get across to the students. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yes. And they actually encourage, and that's why a lot of people don't pass their mock, is they don't give different teaching strategies. Like they don't show the lesson in different ways. And the slides are so simple. They're so straightforward, but sometimes there's a little tool that you can share with the students, or little some terminology, some tips. They highly encourage that for sure.
So if I had some type of prop that I wanted to use to show or to expound on that principle, or to explain it, maybe if a student's not comprehending it, that's okay to use something?
Oh yeah, for sure.
External? Okay.
Yep. Yeah, you can use props, if whatever you need to use to help reinforce. Zoom also has a whiteboard that they like you to use. So if you want to, like the multiplication, for example, or equal groups, so you can open up the whiteboard and show equal groups there too. Whatever you can do to provide a few more strategies to really help the students understand the lesson is highly encouraged. That's what they really want. And they want fun. They want you to have fun. So that's super important.
So tell me about your students. How are they? Are they active? Do you have good relationships with them like we do in the ESL world? Are they more, or do you have ones that don't say anything or engage? Have you had ones that are difficult to teach? How has your experience been with the students?
It's very different than the ESL world, because Chinese students are very different from American students.
Yes.
So that was a little bit of an adjustment. Also, they don't group the students by their ability. They group them by when you sign up for the class. So you'll have students at different levels, and you'll also have students with different personalities, of course. All of my students have been absolutely wonderful until Monday, and they're still wonderful. They're just 5th grade. I forgot how 5th grade, they're close to middle school, but not quite there. So they're developing that little independence, or they think they're funny. They're not funny. But it's fun now. You just have to establish those rules. You can't write all over the screen. You can't, you got to pay attention. I don't know, all that stuff. So don't talk when I talk, that type of thing.
Now, have you come away from a lesson frustrated, or have you been able to get it under control? What about if you do have issues with a student who is just not going to listen or be disruptive or something like that?
To be honest, I haven't had a big issue. The 5th grade, I did share in the parent feedback that maybe it'd be better for the parent to be there a couple of times, at least once or twice, so that just to make sure that their child stays on task. But there have been issues, and SplashLearn has your back. I mean, they are pro teacher. They're on our side, which is really refreshing.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So if you really have a problem student, they'll go to the class, they'll watch some of the class and make a decision there. And then they will notify the parent if there's an issue, and either find another teacher or just say, maybe this isn't for your child. But they definitely are on our side, which is incredible, honestly.
So if you do have an issue, do you contact them during the class if it's to that, if it's escalated to that point, or do you just wait until after class? How does that work?
It's up to you. You can contact them during the class. They use, so if you do decide to apply, make sure you use a Gmail, because everything is done via Google. Except for Zoom, of course, but everything else is Google. So like their fireman is Google Hangouts, which is a chat app. And you would notify them via Google Hangouts right then, if it comes to that point. Otherwise, you can notify them after the class, and they'll come to the next class and give you options or different things. So yeah, they're very. I mean, they want this company to succeed. You still have the people that started the whole tutoring program. They're still very much involved. They want to see it succeed. As a beginner teacher, I really want to see it succeed. Like, everybody seems to want this program. You know, I feel like it's a needed program for the math students, but it's also a great program for teachers, because there's really not a lot of daytime teaching things that we can do online. I mean, OutSchool, of course, but you got to come up with your own curriculum, and you just got to hope your class fills and all of that stuff. This is nice because it's during the day, and it's just, yeah, it's been great.
And pretty much it's like the ESL platforms where we have the lessons already provided and we show up to teach. The only difference is you just have to meet those minimum classes.
Yeah, the minimum hours, but book your pre-discussion and talk to them about it for sure.
That's right.
Yes.
So
Elena, I think we answered this, but they don't know, you know, I mean, a lot of schools are going online right now. So I think they are still expecting quite a few daytime hours, but then again, students are going to be taking online classes in the morning. So it may pick up more after they're done. They don't know. We don't know. Nobody knows. I'm sorry, but yeah.
Yes. And then Aaron asked, if you don't pass the initial mock, is there a waiting period? And you already answered that and said there's no waiting period. You just have to schedule your pre-discussion again, correct?
Right. You have to go through it all over again, but yes. So I saw your Aaron, I think, is in the Facebook group. So look around. There's a lot of resources there, a lot of good information. But yeah, and make sure, especially if you do the fraction lesson, make sure you go in there thinking that the student has no idea what a fraction is, because that's been the main thing with the fractions is you just assume they know what a fraction is, because there's not really an introduction to fractions on the mock, but they don't. So
okay. And you mentioned feedback. So tell me, how do you write the feedback? And since everything's done in Google, how do you submit it? How long does it take you? What do they expect, since you have more than one student usually?
So feedback is required. You're not deducted pay for not doing feedback though. So if you don't receive a link, you don't need to freak out so much, but they will email you a link with all of the students in your class, and you need to do feedback, individual feedback for the students in your class. It's not just one per the class, it's one for each student. And once you click on the link for that student, it has the class number and the date, and then you only need to write a small little paragraph. I know some teachers are writing stories and that's a lot of work. They expect some positives that they did in the class. They expect maybe something that the child can work on, but it just needs to be short and sweet, and that's about it.
So Tamara, you're actively teaching maybe 3-4 students at a time. How do you keep up with them individually to write that down or to remember that, or do you go back and watch how does that work?
I have a whiteboard that I just take notes on, so that I don't have to use a bunch of notebooks. I just write my notes on the whiteboard, and then I go back in the evening and do the feedback. So yeah.
And then with pay, you said it's generally $20 to $21 an hour. How is that figured?
$20 to $21, most people. So it's, you're going to receive a base pay of likely around $14. And then you receive $1 for showing up to class. So your base pay is pretty much $15 as long as you're there. And then you receive $5 for completing a batch. So you do have to complete the batch in order to receive that $5 per class. And a batch can be anywhere from 4 classes to 40 classes. So you won't receive that extra pay until you're finished with the batch. But you will receive the initial pay each month. They pay once a month, direct deposit. They pay And so once you're finished with your batch, so if you have a 40-day batch, it'll be Monday through Friday for, 8 weeks, 10 weeks. So you need to be, so you won't receive that extra money until the month that you complete the batch. And
a batch is more like a course. So if it's a 5-day course, that's a batch, or if it's a 5-week course, that's a batch.
Exactly.
Like
Yes. So the shorter term are either Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or Tuesday, Thursday. And then the longer length courses are Monday through Friday, or batch or course, are Monday through Friday. So
it's like you get this base pay monthly, monthly. And maybe if you have this batch or course that goes over the period of 2 months, then you're getting a bonus, right?
Exactly. That second month, you get a bonus for the previous month classes too. Yes, exactly.
Which can help ones with taxes too. When you need to take out taxes, then that could be some of your tax money also.
That's a good idea.
Separate it, out that way.
Right, because we are independent contractors, just like the ESL companies. They don't take out taxes. Right. So that's going to be up to you.
So there's, but there's nothing above 21 that you know of right now. It's just $20 to $21.
I'm not sure. I do know a couple people have negotiated, but I don't know what they negotiated with and for and how and anything.
Yeah.
But, I told them it is nice when a company's transparent. If you have this experience, you'll receive a little extra. If you have this degree, you'll receive a little extra. They are asking feedback. They're asking for different things, and they're listening. They definitely listen to us. So it is new. It's all, and I know there were a couple of teachers that were offended because they got the lowest pay, but really everybody was being offered the lowest pay. So it wasn't anything against them. So they're working on that. They don't want anybody to be disheartened, and upset.
Yes.
So yes, it's in progress, but for now, it'll be most likely $20.
And that's great that they're listening, that you have input into their decision making, that they're asking. And that's how Zebra English was also in the initial stages. And they would ask some of us that had been with them, because there were 25 of us until November when they started hiring and building up their platform. And it was a great feeling knowing, and that's why I always said that Zebra English cared about its teachers, is because they would listen, just like the raises. And that was on our feed today. How do you get a raise? Well, at VIPKid, I couldn't get a raise because you had to do 1,200 classes in a year, and I couldn't commit to that or do that with my schedule and my family homeschooling. And I don't teach at night. That's family time. It's too chaotic really at my house. During that time. And I am not a night person, so that doesn't work good either. But Zebra, when they asked about the raises, and I explained that situation to them, I said, you've got these faithful teachers that have been there year after year, and maybe they can't commit to this large number of classes, but they're ones that you can count on, and they're faithful. They should be rewarded, and they said, whenever you hit 1,200 classes, you'll receive a raise if you meet the other criteria with cancellations and no-shows, and then your, feedback percentages, which I was like, that's so doable, and that rewards every teacher, not just those that can teach 100 classes a month.
Right. I 100% agree. Yeah. And I told SplashLearn that also, actually, like make the raises attainable, make them something. Yeah, you might have to meet certain requirements, but make those requirements available for all the teachers.
Right. And then it might take you longer to get there, but it's still attainable.
Right.
It's not like you've got this time constraint on you.
Exactly. Yeah. And I told him about the feedback too, that, because I know Zebra, it's a percentage of your total feedback. It's not how many feedbacks you have. And that's huge too, because if the parent's not required to leave feedback, then, you can't always, you can't always rely on that.
Right. You can't make them give feedback, because I know so many with VIPKid would say, I've had these regulars and my regulars love me. And because they book me every week, that should show something, but they don't care to give me feedback.
Right.
And we wouldn't either, really. If we were pleased with a teacher, we wouldn't be giving them feedback every week,
Right. It's work on your part too,
Yeah.
It's like, I'm paying you already. I gotta.
That's right.
Yes.
All right. Well, Tamara, I can't believe that an hour has already gone by. It's just been so quick, but it's been so interesting
It's
to
so
hear about SplashLearn. And I know it's a new company, and not a new company, just like Zebra English was not new. This is
Right.
just a new
New
facet of
division.
it.
Yes. Yes. The only
And
difference really, I mean, well, there's a lot of differences, but they are not required to do the SplashLearn app before class, but the SplashLearn app does reinforce the lessons taught in our classes as
right.
well. So it follows.
So you're like, please practice on your app. It will
Yep.
benefit you greatly before you come to class.
Exactly. Exactly. It's mostly the facts. You know, a lot of kids don't know their multiplication facts, and you're like, just do it. You got to just do it on your own. Use the app, you know, study your facts.
Right.
And then you'll learn all these concepts a lot easier.
That's
But
right.
yes, exactly.
Well, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, Tamara, everyone is saying thank you so much for all of this information. I know I have even learned more, even though I've been in communication with you and SplashLearn and in your group. So it's been so much fun to have you on here. So again, everyone, if you're interested in SplashLearn, Tamara is definitely the person to see and link up with. She was helping once and has been from the very beginning, and recently started this SplashLearn Q&A group. So you can become a part of that. And then she also has a SplashLearn teacher group, right?
Yes, yes. I have a SplashLearn teacher group. Once you become a teacher, then there's another girl that's a little more active than I am on that one, but yes.
Okay. And then one last question, Tamara. Do you have to wear anything in particular to teach with SplashLearn?
Nothing. And actually, your device, you can use anything that Zoom works with. So aside from Chromebooks, Zoom is almost everything, you know, with everything.
Yeah. Okay, great.
Yes.
All right. Well, thank you again, Tamara. I'm so excited to have this time.
Yeah, this was so fun.
I'm thankful you're a part of my Zebra English group, and I'm a part of your SplashLearn groups.
Yay! I know.
See what I can negotiate with SplashLearn. I don't know.
There you go. Good luck. I don't know how people are doing it, but
I know. Never hurts to ask, though, or give input.
Exactly.
All right. Well, great. Thanks so much, Tamara, and we'll see you.
All right. Yay. Goodbye.
Bye.